Sun fading, sky gazing, stars are the jewels of the night, hidden behind a horizon, into the moonlight, into the moonlight. We were chosen, hearts are frozen. We were chosen, hearts are frozen. In time.
Hey, this is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. I'm an empowerment coach, NLP trainer, master hypnotherapist, and much more. And I'm telling you, there is a form of power that is literally inside you. That's why Jesus and Buddha both said, look within. And in this video, I'm going to show you the first stages on how they took away your power. Okay, so there's a huge shift that's happening on the planet right now, and the people that are fighting it are the ones that are not going to make it, okay? They're the ones that are going to suffer emotionally at the very least and financially. So here's the shift. So as I said just a second ago, Buddha and Jesus both said, look within. Well, I went to church for 3 decades, 31, 32 years, and yet, I read it, I heard it, but nobody ever sat me down and said, well, what does that mean? What it means is when you look within, it literally means to have your awareness inside your body. This is so important because the access to your power, the key to your power is allowing your awareness, i.e. looking within, is inside you. Once you learn how to access that, you suddenly tap into a power that has always been there. It's always been there. Now, if you've ever wondered, how come some people are so confident? How come some people just seem to have the answers? How come some people just seem to move ahead in life and achieve their goals? It's because they have accessed this, whether it was on accident, whether a father, a mother, a book taught them, maybe they just did something one day and it worked out, so they kept doing it, and they developed that every single day or every time they came into certain challenges, and they got better and better at it to the point where they didn't even know what they were doing. All they knew was if something was wrong, they went back to that. The good news is this is the shift I'm talking about. See, there's 2 forms of power. So a lot of you were, so one of the ways they limited your power, and yes, they did it on purpose, was they told you in movies and songs, your school teachers and church and all kinds of places, oh, power is bad. No, power is a very good thing. Power can educate people. Power can make money. Power can feed you. Power can get the job done. Power can teach you how to love someone. Powerlessness, that's where all the anger and the violence comes from. Now, there's 2 kinds of power. So the bad power is what we've been using for thousands of years. It's called the external form of power, okay? So the type of power I'm talking about, the good power, is power within you. It's about power, I don't even want to say over yourself, it's about power with yourself. The bad power is power over other people. That's where you manipulate. That's where you trick. That's where you lie. That's where you learn techniques to take advantage of people. That is the kind of power that if you think power is bad, yeah, you're right. That is bad. And that's what's happening. We are going through a huge shift right now. People across the world, Spain, Italy, Australia, the UK, they're they're protesting en masse right now. What's really happening is people are saying we are waking up to what's really been going on. The people that have had power over us have been lying to us and have been teaching stuff to disempower us. And that's what this video is about. I'm going to show you a few key things on what they've done to disempower you. So the powers that be, they don't want you to hear this message. This message I have been teaching for over 2.5 decades, 25 plus years in my course for men, Crack the Female Code. Now let me tell you something. I got call it a mysterious phone call. I wouldn't say the guy was being mysterious, but it was someone called up out of the blue and said, hey, you need to know something. If you keep teaching this, they will kill you. And shortly after, somebody drove up behind me while I was on a bicycle ride, and they ran me over there and they left me for dead. This is why people who keep speaking up, telling the truth, trying to awaken people, end up either missing, dead, or in Andrew Tate's case, arrested falsely with no charges.
Starlight, star bright, you are the first star I see tonight. Starlight,
So take a look at this picture right now that is slowly going up of the armor of God, Ephesians 6:11 through 18. Helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, shield of faith, and then he's got a sword, and it continues on. Okay, the belt of truth, etc. What does he look like? Does that look like a little daisy, like a little wimp? No, that is a knight in shining armor. He is prepared for battle, to kill, to fight to the death. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you some things that were twisted in the church, that were twisted in the Bible, that were not spoken truthfully. Now here's the deal. This image, the armor of God and the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, the shield of faith, the sword of whatever, etc., is biblical. The point is, you're supposed to be a warrior, and yet some of the biblical truths, probably all of them, have been twisted into meaning something that they don't actually mean. And I'm going to start right now and I'll give you just a few examples. Okay, here we go. Now here's the thing. I'm also going to teach you at least one technique on what it means to look within. Because again, I would have left you going, okay, what does that mean to look within? And the question really is, how do you look within? And I'm going to do that towards the end of the video. Alright, so let's get started. So here's some examples. Turn the other cheek. Well, we were taught that if someone strikes you on the cheek, to turn the other cheek and let them strike you on the other cheek. Okay, well, I ask people, I go, so let me ask you a question. If somebody was really beating the crap out of someone, do you really think Jesus would be okay with that and tell the person, oh, just turn the other cheek and let him beat the crap out of you some more? No, Jesus would be the first one to rush in, to run in, to physically grab the person that's attacking and rip them off, throw them off of the person and stop the fight. Turn the other cheek means to walk away. It's something you learn when you're dealing with narcissists, because you eventually realize, like, oh, so all I have to do is walk away from this person and this person's going to flip out. Yeah. So turn the other cheek literally means to turn and walk away, to get away from what's going on. Okay? How about opposites attract? This may not be biblical, but it is a narcissist teaching. Opposites do not attract. Opposites repel. Here's what I mean. When you fall in love with someone, you want someone that has similar values, rules, and beliefs that you are attracted to. Okay? So when you get in a relationship with someone that has completely radically different beliefs and radically opposite ways of doing things, like let's say you don't like to argue, but then that person argues about every little freaking thing. Do you really think that's going to make you happy? No. After a period of time, that's going to make you miserable. Okay? But opposites attract is a phrase that was designed by narcissists to make sure that when they stop love bombing you, because this is what they do, they love bomb you, which means they match you. You fell in love with them because they didn't do the opposite, they did the same. They became you, they mirrored you. And then after that phase, once they get you hooked, then they flip and become the opposite, and then they start arguing and fighting, and they start trying to destroy all your values and all your beliefs. And the whole goal is to suck you in, match and mirror you, get you hooked, and then abuse the crap out of you. So that's why they made this belief, so you wouldn't leave. And your friends are like, well, you know, opposites attract, and thus you stay in the relationship for longer abuse. All right, so here's another belief. Through thick and thin. So this is one of our marriage vows. Through marriage, through thick and thin, etc. That belief has been absolutely twisted into through thick and abuse. Now, through thick and thin literally means when the economy goes down, when the country goes through depression and it's hard to come by money, it's hard to come by food. It doesn't mean that one person gets to abuse the other one and be mean and rude. See, that belief was twisted into convincing people to stay in a relationship with a narcissist so they can abuse you. And then what are your friends and family like? Well, you made a vow through thick and thin in front of everybody. No, that is not what it meant. It meant through good times and hard times, as in the economy goes down. Somebody breaks their leg and they can't go to work for a month or two, or they lose their job, or whatever. You're there for each other through thick and through. That kind of thick and thin, not one person abusing the other. Now check this out. Here's a belief that has been taught in the church, which is absolutely not true. It's even spelled this way in the King James Bible, which is absolutely not true. Here's what it is. Thou shalt not kill. That is an incorrect translation. Okay? So the translation, there's two words in the so in Hebrew, it has two words for homicide and killing. In Hebrew, the word harag and the word, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, rasach or rachach. It's clear it's do not murder. Murder is illegal killing. For example, you can kill an animal to feed your family. You can kill someone if they attack you and try to kill you. So self-defense, if you kill someone on accident or on purpose, or however you want to say it, when you're trying to defend yourself, okay, depending on the situation. Now here's the funny thing. I actually have the King James Bible. That's the one that I chose when I was in my early 20s, mid-20s. And it literally says kill. It doesn't say murder. The proper translation is murder. Now I do believe that some of the other versions, Bibles, I don't know which ones, NIV or whatever, that they do have the correct version. Now here's the thing. How many people do you know that have gone to church their whole lives, read their Bible, and were always told thou shalt not kill? A lot of people. We're probably talking hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. It's an absolute out and out lie. Why? Here's what you're going to notice about all these beliefs that have been twisted, all these teachings, all these, phrases from the Bible. The goal is to disempower you. Why? So it can allow them, the narcissists, to attack you, to use you, to enslave you, to make you work for them for pennies on the dollar, for nickels, so you are starving to death. It's to convince you that somehow you owe them and that they should be allowed to take from you. So what it really comes down to is narcissists basically want to attack you and kill you, and they don't want you to fight back. It's kind of like a lion on the Serengeti or wherever they are, when they, in Africa, where they go and they hunt animals down, and it would be like a lion saying, well, I don't want you to fight back. I'm just, give me your throat and let me kill you so I can have a nice tasty dinner. That's why it's so important to read things for yourself. Know the rules. Don't assume that the person sitting next to you in church or even on the baseball team knows the rules correctly. In fact, the person sitting next to you in the pews, that's a narcissist. They're purposely going to tell you and twist the beliefs. In fact, that's what's going on right now in today's world. People are making up new terms, new words, and they're changing the meaning to words that we've had for centuries and thousands of years, saying, oh, that doesn't mean that, that means something else, and therefore you're bad and you're wrong. It's all designed to get you to submit and to be helpless so they can dominate you and push you down. And yes, of course, these are narcissists that are doing this, okay? So in the Bible, the narcissist would be the seed of Cain. In other words, any offspring that came from Cain, and also the serpent in the book of Genesis, and the serpents that Jesus took out of the people and threw into the swine, or the pigs that ran off the cliff and fell into the water and died. Those are all demonic narcissists. These are demonic spirits that are going into people that are doing this. Alright, so here's one key. One thing that I would recommend is that you get a dictionary that has a lot of words. Different dictionaries have different amounts of words in them, from 50,000 to I think as much as 100,000. I can't remember how many. I'd have to grab my dictionary. I'm not going to grab it. Get a big size dictionary with a lot of words and start looking up the words and read the definitions. I learned that in college. Now, if you're into the Bible and biblical studies, you need to get a King James Greek lexicon dictionary. It's built into it. It'll be for the New Testament, or the Old Testament and the New Testament in the back. So you can look up individual words and go, what did this word mean at that moment in time when they said it? Because over time, words can change meaning. For example, in the 70s, the mid to late 70s, the word bad started to mean good. Hey, Michael, those shoes are bad. It meant that those are really awesome shoes, so really good. So another tool that you can use is you can buy something that's called the Vine's Complete Expository Dictionary of the Old and New Testament Words. See, one thing I learned in college was if you don't know the definition of words, you're screwed, because people can tell you what they mean to their advantage. So you need to educate yourself, okay? Another one you can get is the King James Bible Word Book, all right? See, here's the deal. I don't trust pastors and I don't trust ministers because I know a lot of them are demonic narcissists. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I also know a lot of them were trained by demonic narcissistic teachers in Bible colleges or their own churches, etc., and they didn't have a clue. So a lot of good, well-meaning people are actually going around teaching the wrong stuff without knowing it. I mean, how many centuries has the King James Bible been around, and it's erroneously saying thou shalt not kill? That is absolutely not true. It means thou shalt not murder. There is a difference between murder and killing. And yet, the majority of Christians in America and probably Europe thought, oh, you're not allowed to stand up for yourself. And that's another thing about all these teachings. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Okay, I'm going to give you a sign right now. If a red flag we'll call it, to let you know, like, oh, there might be some bullshit. If you are ever taught anything that disempowers you, that makes you feel like you can't protect yourself, defend yourself, or fight for your rights, fight for your financial rights, your physical body to protect it, I'm telling you, somebody twisted something and it's a lie. Another key, another secret, stop trusting people. Stop blindly trusting people. That whole phrase, blind faith, was designed by a narcissist. I don't believe in the Bible because I blindly believe in it. I don't believe in anything because I believe in things because I know it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to go to math class in first grade and say, oh, well, because I don't understand this, I'm not going to believe and therefore I'm not going to listen. No, I'm going to listen to understand. I'm going to listen to learn. That doesn't mean I'm going to blindly just accept what someone shows me. I'm going to say, hey, show this to me and show me how it works and prove that it works. Okay? So for me, when it comes to the Bible, it was using those dictionaries, the King James dictionaries, the Greek and Hebrew lexicon dictionaries. That started making a lot of sense. It's like all of a sudden the pieces started to fit together. And I'm going to remind you, if something makes you feel disempowered, that's not from God. That's not from the goodness. Because look at that image that you're looking at right now. That is a soldier. That is a warrior. You're supposed to be a powerful being. Another thing is, when it comes to having spiritual experiences, you have to learn how to open up. So of course you have to have faith in order to open up, just like you have to have a level of faith to listen to your math teacher, to learn how to do math. That doesn't mean that if he says something that doesn't make sense, that I just agree with what he said, or whatever. No, make him prove his point. So another big part of the spiritual journey isn't to just blindly believe because other people say. No, the goal is for you to meditate enough, to pray enough, to begin to have your own actual real life spiritual experiences. I'll give you one of mine when I was a very young child. One day I went to bed before dinner because I came home from school. It was almost winter. I think it was like late fall or early winter in Wisconsin. And it was cold outside, and I curled up in bed and I fell asleep, and then I saw this big flash in the window, and it was a quick image of my grandma getting into a car accident, head-on collision in her brand new red Jeep. Well, my grandma lived 3 or 4 states away, okay? I think it was 1,400 miles or 1,200 miles. Well, I went upstairs, ran up to my mom, crying, telling her that that grandma's dead, grandma's dead, grandma's dead. My mom's like, what are you talking about? I go, Mom, grandma just died in a car accident in her new red Jeep. And she goes, grandma doesn't have a new red Jeep. Well, grandma just bought a Jeep that week, and no one had told us yet, okay? So sure enough, my grandpa calls later on. And by the way, my mom got very pissed off and made me go back downstairs. And she goes, don't come up until, and she like yelled at me, don't come up until I call you for dinner, is what she said. So sure enough, the phone rings about, I'm going to guess, an hour later. And sure enough, it was my grandpa. And he told her grandma died in a head-on collision in her brand new red Jeep. Now, this is something that everyone heard about, that I had said. My mom told my sisters and brothers and sisters. They told our neighbors. So these are experiences that when you have, you know, okay? So I've never asked anyone to believe in anything blindly, but I do ask you to have faith, not because I'm asking you, it's because it's the only way you'll learn anything, whether it's math, science, business, learning how to go down a new trail. I mean, no matter what you learn in life, in the beginning, you're going to have faith. I don't like the phrase blind faith, because I think that causes people to go, oh, just be blind and just accept what I'm told. No, don't accept what you're told. Get a dictionary. Look it up. My father used to say something that was really key. He said, Michael, I'm going to give you the secret to life. I'm like, okay, Dad, what's that? He goes, know the rules. I'm like, what do you mean, Dad? He goes, whatever you do in life, know the rules. He goes, whether it's math, you have to know the rules. And you know what? I tell you what, when I moved back to Napa, it was after the first quarter of the first semester. And the teacher said, look, all I want you to do is read the first chapter, and then you can start where we're at, right? Because I think they were in like chapter 3 or chapter 4. And I go, okay, well, I didn't read the chapter. I kind of looked it over, like, why would I do that? Because we're on chapter 3. And not only that, but that meant I had to study 2 chapters for Monday instead of 1. So I just studied chapter whatever it was we were on. Well, I struggled in math for the first time in my life. I've always gotten A's in math. And the teacher called me in after 2 weeks. He goes, hey, Michael, what's going on? I've looked at your former grades, and you're like really good at math. He goes, did you read the first chapter? I was like, well, no, not really. I kind of glanced over. He goes, oh, he goes, so you don't, because he asked me, he goes, what is 1 plus 1? I go, it's 2. And he goes, what is 1 times 1? I go, it's 2. And he goes, no. He goes, times means multiplication. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. He goes, yeah, you didn't read the first chapter. Go back and read the first chapter, and you'll understand why you didn't know that, why you've been doing poorly in class. And you know what? I read that, and I was like, oh my God. And I came to class early the next morning saying, I didn't realize that when you were saying 1 and 1, or, is because 1 and 1 is the same as 1 plus 1, and 1 times 1 is different. Okay, so 2 times 3 is 6, but 2 plus 3 is 5. So I didn't know the difference, and that's what I'm talking about. You have to know the difference. My dad was really good at everything he did, especially in sports, and I'll tell you why. He read the rule book. One day, coach either got fired or he got kicked off the team. I forget what it was. Something happened. He might have quit. And they asked my dad, would you just take over? And so my dad's like, yeah, sure. Well, the team didn't do very well until my dad stepped in, and all of a sudden they won every single game, and they took first place. And it kind of pissed off a lot of people. Now, here's one reason why. What happened was my dad was really good at knowing the rules because he kept reading the rule book for Little League over. And I'm like, Dad, like how many times? He goes, Michael, you have to know the rules inside and out. You have to also know what the rules are not. I was like, okay. So what happened was their team was up at the plate, and I think they had 2 people on base, maybe 3. And he had the guy square up the bunt, and he let the ball go by. Square up the bunt, let the ball go by. And this time, he squared up the bunt, but holding the bat out, like with his hand extended on the end of the bat, he swung the bat, but it was in a bunt position, which made the infield come all the way up, and he barely hit the ball, and it just went over the third baseman, and we scored 2 runs just like that, and we won the game. And the other coach came running over, screaming mad, yelling at the umpire, yelling at my dad, you can't do that, you can't do that, because no one had ever seen that before. And what happened is my dad pulled out the rule book and goes, show me where I can't do that. And because the coach also thought the same thing, and the umpire thought the same thing as the other coach, and he started telling my dad, like, yeah, you can't do that. So they wanted to give him an out for that and put the base players back. And my dad shows him the rule book and goes, show me, where does it say you can't do that in there? You can do that. You can ask any coach at a higher level and they'll tell you. So they won the game, and they would always win games by little things that my dad would figure out in the rule book, because he didn't have the best players, but he outthought the other coaches and the umps. So this is just a little sample of how much more powerful you can become simply by understanding the definitions of words and the actual rules. You can begin to take charge of your life and just look at someone who's saying some bullshit and just say, no, sorry, bye.
We are the dreamers, free and fearless. We are the dreamers, free and fearless. The world beneath.
So listen to the words, free and fearless. Now here's the deal. Everything that has happened to you can be altered, can be changed, can be switched. Now what I'm talking about is what I do professionally. Sure, I started out in psychology and I realized early on, like, this is not advanced, because we were still learning from Freud that had been dead for 100 years. And I was kind of like, you got to be kidding me. Science, medicine, technology, computers, electronics, everything has just launched forward, and yet psychology was being left in the ancient days of the 1800s and early 1900s, right? So I prayed, like, there has to be something better. And sure enough, neurolinguistic programming came along, and then Ericksonian hypnosis, and then timeline therapy. And then I started learning about energy healing. Well, here's the deal. You can absolutely change. The fact of the matter is, you didn't know that. You didn't know there's these, I call it change technologies. There are these new tools that can radically help you change, sometimes literally in one session. Now, it depends on the practitioner. How well did they practice their craft? I get people that will come to me for 2-3 sessions. They'll have a lifelong issue. Boom, gone, done. Sometimes it depends on your willingness to open up and let go, so it might take a little longer. But if you're in therapy for 2 or 3 years and you're still having anxiety and all these issues, well, it might be the type of therapy that you're going through. So I'm going to give you one more thing. Let's talk about energy healing. So even when I started studying energy healing, I had a few experiences of it personally, and that's when I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? Like, I felt it, and there was a shift. I was like, okay, this has got my attention. So I started to study Reiki, Huna, pranic healing, and I was really, really skeptical. And the only convincer that would convince me that this is real, that this is actually happening, was if I could do something to someone else and that it actually worked and it actually healed them. See, I'm the kind of person that I have to know that it works. If someone else tells me it works, that doesn't really mean much to me. So I'm going to give you a real life example. This was early 90s, maybe mid 90s. And I was really skeptical at this point. I thought, is this real, or, is this, whatever. Even though I already had some real life examples, experiences. Well, I remember my ex-girlfriend was telling me, I think she had a headache. I forget what was wrong with her. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do an energy healing session. Now, she was about a 45-minute drive away, about, 40 miles away or something like that. I'm not quite sure how far away she was. So I thought, I'm going to do this right now. So I did all the sweeping motions and then the stuff that you're supposed to do. And then I started sending healing energy into her. Now, she was not next to me. She was about, again, 45-minute drive away. So right as I was finishing, I probably just finished and maybe got up and went to get some water or something. So a couple minutes later, I don't remember if it was 3 or 5 minutes, I get a phone call and it's her. She goes, hey, by chance, are you doing that energy healing stuff on me? I was like, yeah. I go, how do you know? She goes, I can feel this energy coming in through me, through the top of my head, down into my body. It's really cool, and it's like flowing, and it's relaxing me. That was the first time that I was like, okay, there's something to this. Now here's the deal. I've healed people of cancer. I've healed people of spinal injuries. I had some cancer on one of my cheeks. If you look back in my videos, if you go back, I don't know if it was 6 months ago or longer, and then go back further, you would see this growth that I had on my face that had been growing for, I don't know if it was 6 months or a year, but you can watch the videos, you keep going back, and it's on there. And I popped that thing off with energy healing. Now, it didn't just pop off. It took about 7 days. So here's the thing. Everything is possible. It's up to you to just imagine it happening. And that's the key, is imagining it. So what did Jesus say? If ye believe, ye shall receive anything in prayer. What did he say about the lady that reached out and touched his robe? He says, by ye faith ye are healed, because you believed. Okay, so let's get into the internal awareness. Okay, well, I call it internal awareness. The same thing as when Jesus says, look within. Now, the internal brain is the right brain. The external brain is the left brain. Well, how do you know when someone's being external left brain or internal right brain? It's actually really simple. Okay, a couple things happen. Number one, when you're in the right brain, your pupils dilate. They get large. Okay, and technically the pupils space apart a couple millimeters, so they get wider. Whereas when you're far in your left brain, your pupils get really, really small. Okay, I mean, like, and they call it the eye of the needle, right? It's like a freaking needle that can't even poke your eye because your pupils are so small. So the smaller the pupil, the further they are in the left brain. So if they're like small but not like super small, they're actually in the left brain but not all the way logical. Okay, so when someone is internal or looking within, their eyes will dilate and get larger. The other thing is, when you're in your right brain, your muscles relax, which means your features begin to get rounder and softer because, number one, the muscles soften. Number two, now blood flow can go into the muscles and into the skin, and it kind of fills it up, and there it softens everything. So your facial features will become softer, whereas if someone's in their logical left brain, they're thinking this is the mechanical brain, your features begin to get smaller, such as the lips. The blood drains from your skin, from your lips, and from your muscles. And you'll also get wrinkles in your lips, okay? So that's how you know someone's in their logical brain. The pupils are super small, and all of a sudden their face becomes square and angular because the muscles tighten, and the blood flow is lessened. In other words, there's less blood. Therefore, your face isn't puffy and swollen up slightly, okay? So again, if you are in the right brain, your lips will swell up because see, what happens is the muscles, instead of being tight, which constricts blood flow, the muscles relax, which allows blood flow. So now the blood fills up your lips, it fills up your skin, it fills up your muscles, and everything becomes softer and rounder. The reason why I say this is, go look at a picture of Jesus. Look at his eyes. Have you ever wondered why whenever you look at a picture of Jesus, it just seems so peaceful? Like what's that iconic picture? It's not Mother Teresa. It's, I can't think of it. Just a really famous picture. Well, it's a very peaceful picture of this woman, and well, look at her eyes. Their eyes are dilated just like Jesus is. All right? So here's the deal. The secret to your power is look within. Okay? And I'm going to get to that in a second. So a lot of people that take my courses and like even the dating relationship course, Cracked Female Code, Male to Female Communication, somewhere in the middle, they'll look at me like, well, where did you learn this stuff? I've never heard. I had a guy that had his doctorate degree from Harvard, and he flew out from the Midwest, and he said, where did you learn this stuff? Because at the time, I was probably like 34, 35, maybe 36. He was in his 50s, and he was a marriage family counselor with his doctorate degree from Harvard. And he's read all the books, went to all the seminars, and Tony Robbins and Dr. John Gray and all this stuff. And he goes, where did you learn this? He goes, I thought I knew everything. I haven't heard of any of this stuff before. Well, here's where I learned it. I am not from this world. Let me say it this way. I am not of this world. The teachings that came to me did not come from a book. They didn't come from a university. They didn't come from a seminar. They came from above. What I mean by that is when you open up, knowledge will download into you on whatever it is that your purpose is here in life. Whether you're a construction worker, a lawyer, someone who's supposed to bring justice into the world, maybe you're supposed to be a medical doctor or a healer, you will suddenly learn and understand, okay, let's take that. I did study energy healing. I studied 3 different forms, technically 4, but I didn't get certified in the 4th one because it was really a one-on-one training that I had been engaged with for over 10 years. So people will ask me, like, but how did you learn how to do this stuff and get so good at it? I was gifted. I was born into this world with this ability to do this, beyond a shadow of a doubt. There's no two ways about it. So what happens is, whatever your focus in life is, all of a sudden you will just have the answers, and you won't know why. Like, it'll just come to you. In fact, a lot of times when I work with my clients, I remember the first time it happened. I was living in Vacaville. I had a 1-bedroom apartment over there. This was like 93, I'm going to guess. It might have been earlier because it was my very, very, very first client. And she had this issue, and I didn't know what to do. And I was kind of going, oh, fuck. So I kind of inside prayed, like, God, give me an answer. And I actually got up and I went in the bathroom to wash my face, to kind of like take a couple breaths. And when I went to sit down, it came to me like that. And I'm not going to explain the technique, but it's a technique I've never heard of, never seen anywhere since. And it worked. Okay? So that was the very first step of me beginning to trust my intuition, this spiritual I don't want to say spiritual guide, although technically I think it was. It wasn't like it was a person or a being or a thing, but it was just like a knowing, like it just came to me. So a lot of times when I'm working with people, my only goal is to stay open. That's all I do, is I just stay open, and it always comes to me. Whatever I'm supposed to do comes to me, and then boom, they heal. All right, so let's get to internal awareness. So number one, we learned that Jesus says it, and how do you know someone is internal? Well, their pupils will dilate, their skin will soften, their face will have more rounder features versus angular, which is the logical left brain. The lips will swell. Oh yeah, when the lips swell up, the wrinkles go away and they become smoother, okay? All right, and yes, guys, that's how you know a woman is aroused, because she goes into her right brain and the lips begin to swell, get fuller, and the wrinkles or creases, they begin to smooth out and go away. All right, so watch this. So I'm going to give you an example of what internal awareness is. So especially men, they look external. They're looking outside of their body, okay? Well, what we want to do is look within. This is for men and women. So what does this mean? Well, the way the left brain does it, the pupils get small like laser beams. And every woman knows what it's like when a guy stares at her and laser beams her either face to face or from across the room. Yes, guys, women can feel that. In fact, when you learn how to open up to your right brain, you'll feel it too if someone does it to you. And they can feel what part of their body that a man's looking at. Seriously, I know, because when someone laser beams me, I can feel it. Like, I'll give you an example. One thing I do, let's say I'm on my computer, got my headphones on, I got cranking the rock and roll music, and I'm working on my website or working on a book I'm writing or something. Let's say a woman's looking at me from my rear left, and she's looking at my shoulder, maybe my left side of my head. I'll look exactly at her. I won't look up and then start looking around her. Let's say my head's down on the computer. I'll instantly, boom, turn and look right at her. And every time, whoa, shit, how did you know? Because I can feel it. It's literally like a spider web. You can feel it touch you. All right, so internal awareness. An example would be, so the male laser beams go out from both eyes, but they touch like at a point, like aiming at a target, okay? The reverse is when you bring that point into your forehead, in between your eyes, and then down in your body, and then down into the earth. So now the V is going down to the earth, and the point is down in the earth, let's say 10 feet. So if you just imagine that point coming into your face and going down into your body, and now up at the top, you're wide open. It's like a funnel. So when you're looking at someone, you should have this peripheral vision, this wide open vision from left to right, and then your awareness should be inside your heart, your chest, your belly, and your groin area. This respects other people's space. When you're laser beaming them, you are going across the barrier, which is about, everyone has a bubble around them that's about 18 inches, 16 to 18 inches, they say. If you laser beam through that bubble, you just invaded their space. But what most men do, or left brain logical people, or people who are in their left brain, they go through the bubble and then they go into the person's face or into their eyes. And a lot of men say, but women say, look me in the eyes. No. They don't mean look inside their eyes. They mean have an open peripheral vision and receive their eyes. There's a difference. So when a woman looks at the sunset, let's say you're at the Golden Gate Bridge or a beach and you're looking out at the sunset, a woman opens up wide and receives it, or I should say the right brain. So when a man, he looks out to the sun, most men are like, well, of course you look out because it's out there, Mike. No, that's just a left brain way of looking at things, okay? All right, so another thing you can do is you can imagine there's a ball that drops down into your chest and your solar plexus and your belly area, okay? And imagine that swells up, or should not swell up, but expands to your left side of your ribs, to the right side of your ribs, etc., okay? And all the way down into your hips. Allow your awareness to be inside your heart and into your belly and your solar plexus area as you're looking at. But here's the thing, you don't actually look at them. You open up to receive them. So you should be aware of everything on the left and right of them, and also behind them at least 10 feet or more, maybe even 15 or 25 feet, okay? What this does is it literally creates space. So you ever heard like a practitioner, like a, you know, people like when they do ayahuasca, they're like, okay, buddy, I'll hold space for you, right? Holding space literally means what I just explained. You expand your awareness. It doesn't mean you lock down, because I had this one person say, oh, I'm going to hold space for you, and they lock down with their laser beam eyes. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? That's not holding space. Holding space literally means letting go. It doesn't mean to actually physically hold it or imagine holding it. It's like letting go, and you pop open. It's kind of like a helium balloon. You let it go, and it floats up, and your space expands and expands up and left and right and back and front. That's holding space. So holding space literally means to let go of the holding. I know it sounds funny, but it's having this awareness to just expand your awareness. Not to push it, not to pull it, just let it go like you let go of a helium balloon. It just expands out. It's like when you let it go, it expands naturally by itself, because that's where our energy was supposed to be in the first place. Everything that we have been taught was a lie. We were never supposed to lock down, focus, and be in this logical, linear world. That is the lie. That's the book of Genesis, Adam and Eve in the garden. The lie was to trick you to leave your right brain to go into your logical brain. And thus to think and think and think and go in circles. See, when you're in your logical thinking brain, you are literally completely blind. You're disconnected from your five senses, because that's your right brain. The right brain's a five senses processor. So you're disconnected from your five senses, you're disconnected from your awareness, you're not in peripheral vision. Now you're in foveal vision, which means you're looking through a narrow tube, which means you're oblivious to everything around you, not only visually, but also auditorily and kinesthetically. All of those systems are supposed to be expanded in a wide open circular manner. That is consciousness, that is awareness, and that is what I teach men how to do. And guess what, guys? When you learn how to hold space and expand open, it makes a woman feel very, very comfortable and safe with you. The good news is this is narcissist proof, because a narcissist never wants to let go, and they never want to open up to their right brain. So this is the art of opening up to your heart and love. So listen to the lyrics. We are the dreamers, free to experience, or free to whatever they said. See, true power is freedom. It's not control. The weak people that don't actually have personal power, that don't have their own power, they try to control other people. Well, who's that? Well, that's the people that are in charge. That's called narcissists, okay? Narcissists are actually, by nature, very weak people. It's the reason why they are narcissists, okay? It's the reason why they study and learn all these control tactics, okay? Alright, so the one thing about learning internal awareness, it's not as easy as saying, oh, put your awareness inside and stuff like that. When I work with people, I use my energy to guide your energy. Now, I know for those of you who have no experience with energy healing, you're going to be like, oh, geez, whatever, dude. No. When you experience it, you know, I've had the most staunch like Adam, you've seen my videos of Adam in the past, I've had the most staunch anti-believers, oh, this is bullshit, you're full. And Adam told me, he goes, dude, I thought you were so full of shit. Until he had a real life experience, okay? So this is why some people learn how to ground themselves, because they're with a master practitioner like me, who understands how to use their energy to guide your energy, versus where you went to a seminar and said, oh, what you do is you drop your awareness inside and you expand your awareness, blah, blah, blah. And you walk out going, I don't feel any different. Like, what are you, like, and you think, oh, this is bogus bullshit. And it was the same thing with me. I was going to all these seminars and I kept hearing the same thing. You got to ground yourself. You got to do this. You got to open up. I'm like, what does that mean? What are you talking about? Same thing as like, look within, like Jesus and Buddha said. You know, you read it 100 times, you hear it in church, and like, what is he talking about? Nobody ever breaks it down. And even if they told you, if they didn't do it with their energy, if they themselves were not emotionally grounded, your energy will not go in the same direction because it won't know where to go. One thing that I've noticed is women are much more in tune with energy. In fact, to the point to where they were born this way, and they're like, well, what are you talking about? And you're like, well, I do that all the time. And they're like, but men don't. They're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So here's the deal, guys. Women are very aware of energy because most of them, or more of them, are a lot more tuned into the right brain and five senses. So one of the things about this, guys, is obviously when you learn how to do this, it melts a woman's heart. It opens her up, and this is like, when you look at all those like 60s and 50s, 60s and 70s, male actors, and it's like women, oh, they swoon over them. Look at their eyes. Look at their face. They're masculine men that are in their right brain. All right, so the reason why I chose this picture, especially this one, but also the other ones, is this was the band that the music was in the one of the Spider-Man movies, okay? This band is called Tonight Alive, and I found this band years ago, and it really helped me through a lot of tough times. So the image that you're seeing here, and also the band's overall theme, is freedom to be alive, to live your life. Because narcissists have been holding us back. And one of the biggest teachings in all of my courses and all of my healing is to teach your energy how to finally be free to let go so you can live fully and completely. God bless you guys.